Hello everyone, welcome to our GoodWe webinar. My name is Rad Sidhu and I will be presenting an introduction to GoodWe and our product portfolio. Please text any questions that you have and we will answer them during this webinar. Let's get started. Today's agenda would be a GoodWe company introduction, the GoodWe product roadmap presented by myself, and an introduction to GoodWe CNI solutions and a GoodWe service intro by Colin Poulter. Here's a little bit about the history of GoodWe. We were actually founded in 2010, and from 2010 till present day, we've achieved a lot of major milestones using a step-by-step approach in a very short period of time. Established in 2010, and within the first few years, we'd set up a first of our R&D centres before entry into international markets. In 2014, we'd launched our first residential hybrid. GoodWe UK, GoodWe Australia, and a service centre were also set up in Holland during this period. And it was also the start of our partnership with BYD and TUV. From 2016 to 2017, I'll just go through some of the major points here. We launched our SEMS platform. Now, SEMS is our smart energy management system platform for monitoring, which is free to all of our customers. And also through our partners Solar Century, GoodWe was selling our products in IKEA stores in Europe and in the UK, and also our second service centre, a second R&D centre was set up in China, as well as the Indian service team in the Indian subcontinent. From 2018 to present day, we'd actually won the TUV Quality Award for 4 consecutive years. We now have a team based in Germany which manage Europe, and also we've set up a team in Mexico and Brazil for the Americas. As I said, within a short period of time from 2010 till present day, we've expanded our global presence. In the USA and Canada, we will be launching new teams in the near future, but we are represented on all continents. Some key facts about GoodWe that a lot of people don't know. One of them is GoodWe actually have over 130 registered patents for technology from our R&D centre, which we use in our products. We've just set up 2 brand new state-of-the-art production facilities in China, which now allow us to have an 8 gigawatt production capacity to serve our demand globally. Also, over 1,000 employees, and over a quarter of them are R&D personnel. Some of the awards that we have had, I've already mentioned the All Quality Award, which we've got for 4 years in a row, but we've also had the EUPD award for 4 consecutive years. To the right hand side here is a Red Dot Award. This award was received for our DSS dual tracker inverter, not just for its aesthetic looks, but also for the innovation and the technology within that product. On the left, the IHS market report, for the IHS score, we were top 6 solar inverter manufacturer for global shipments in 2019. This screen actually speaks for itself. There's some major blue chip companies here which are trusted and partnered with GoodWe for our quality products. I'm also pleased to announce, and you may have seen this on the news channels already, GoodWe's have now announced their global partnership with GE. Now, GE, as you know, is a major blue chip corporation. They've looked at over 130 inverter manufacturers worldwide to see who could partner with them, and I'm pleased to say they've selected GoodWe. Right, let's start with the residential single phase and some smaller our 3-phase smaller products. Right, to the left we have the XS unit here, which is small, lightweight, compact. starts with 700 watts all the way up to 3 kilowatts. So you get a 700 watt unit, a 1 kilowatt unit, a 1.5, a 2, a 2.5, and a 3, all with a single tracker. Next to them are our dual tracker inverters for residential with 2 trackers, and they range from 3.3 kilowatts all the way to 6 kilowatts. This is the DSS model that we won the Red Dot Award for. We do have an option now with 3 trackers, which is our MS unit. Some markets we have larger buildings or larger houses with single phase, so we can now offer an option from 5 to 10 kilowatts. To the right hand side are our smaller 3-phase units, which are the SDT range, ranging from 4 to 20 to 25 kilowatts. Again, small, lightweight and compact. Right, just want to focus on the XS mini inverter. This product is ideal for housing projects, social housing schemes, or new builds. They are very small, lightweight, compact, as I said. The actual fascia size here is the size of an A4 sheet of paper. Again, single phase, 1 tracker, 1 DC input. They also have, as a very good feature, a low startup voltage from 40 to 50 volts. More and more module manufacturers are producing bifacial modules. These can actually accept a higher input current to work efficiently and produce a better yield if you have bifacial modules on the roof. Added features are you've got 10% extra power on the AC side. In some markets, you may need additional surge protection, so we can add a Type 2 SPD, which is optional. You've got Wi-Fi, LAN, RS485, and 4G monitoring coming soon. These are used to connect to our free SEMS portal. On the smaller 3-phase units, as I said earlier, 2 trackers. They are small, lightweight, compact. They have a higher power density to size ratio. So you get a lot of power from these, even though they are a small, compact unit. One feature which we have on all of our GoodWe inverters and energy storage systems is the actual body case is made of the same material. So heat doesn't actually gather in one spot, it dissipates evenly. Other brands use mixed materials, so you may get concentrated heat spots, and so the heat doesn't dissipate evenly. Again, bifacial module compatibility works better with panels with a higher input current. You've also got a very good benefit here of you can do 50% DC oversizing, so you can oversize your system by 50%. Normally other brands do between 10 and 30. For ours, you can put extra panels on the roof for less cost. So there is a cost saving implication there. IP65 protection, and again, Wi-Fi, LAN and RS485 monitoring for connection to our free SEMS portal. Right, for our larger range of commercial inverters, we have the SMT, the MT range, and our brand new HT series, which I'll be going through shortly. But to the left, the SMT, we supply a 3-tracker product, 25, 30, and 36 kilowatts. Soon to be coming in on this range will be a 50 and 60 kilowatt version with 5 and 6 trackers. Now, the MT in Europe and the UK is becoming the inverter of choice. There's been several schemes in the UK from 200 kilowatts to over 2 megawatt rooftops using the 50, 60 and 80 kilowatt MT units. But we now also offer a high voltage version for ground mount solutions and for connection direct to a transformer with 4 trackers, again, a 70 and 80 kilowatt unit. And any schemes that are out there that are using bifacial modules, we have a BF version as well, 50, 60 and 80. Right, to the right hand side are our brand new HT series. which are 100 kilowatt, 120 kilowatt, and then in the high voltage range for ground mounts, 136 to 150. These come with 10 trackers for the 100 kilowatt, 12 trackers for the 120, 136 and 150. These are ideal for medium to large commercial rooftops with the regular voltage options, and with the high voltage options, you've now got larger inverter capability for medium to large ground mount solutions for connection to a transformer. Well, I did mention the MT was becoming the inverter of choice, and I'll explain why. Basically, 50% DC oversizing, so more panels for less cost. You've got a 15% extra AC power. Other inverters, not many other brands offer this. Bifacial module compatibility we've talked about. They work under full load operation in temperatures up to 50 degrees. There's arc fault detection, so as an added optional extra, if you have, say, a loose connection on the roof, the inverter can detect this and basically shut down while you can repair the fault safely. AC temperature detection also, so if the AC connectors are getting too hot, the inverter will detect it. Just down below here, you can see internal humidity detection. Some countries are very humid. It will pick up any humidity within the inverter. Available also string level monitoring, so you can actually monitor how the system on the roof is performing as well as the inverter. And then you've got the usual Wi-Fi RS485, but now we offer PLC power line communication for larger schemes. This is a big cost saving element, as you don't have to connect multiple inverters with RS485. All the communication can be achieved through the power lines. So these are some of the reasons why the MT is becoming the inverter of choice. But if you need some more proof, we're very proud to announce that for the MT series inverter, we've achieved the VDE ARN 4110 certificate. You may say, why do we need this? It's a German certificate for the European market. But in the UK, for instance, if you have schemes and people need to make a buying decision and they want assurance on the quality of the product, you can only pass this certificate if you have a quality product. It's very, very difficult to obtain this certificate, and there's strict procedures and testing that are done on products to actually gain this certificate. You can present this again to your customers, investors, to say, this is what we are promoting for your scheme, and here's the evidence to say it is a quality product that will last a long time. Right, last but least, another one of our brand new products. These are more for utility ground mount connection to a transformer for your power plants. It's the HT series. It's a 250 kilowatt unit. You've got a 1500 volt DC input with 12 trackers. There's some good features about this product I'm just going to talk through quickly, but Colin will go into a little bit more detail than I will. Right, we've talked about bifacial modules already, string level monitoring, full load operation, our safety features for the arc, the AC connector temperature detection and humidity detection, but you can actually put type 1 SPD in there anyway as an option, but we also have type 2 in there, which is already included. You've got Bluetooth commissioning and also PID repair. This actually helps, this is an integral feature within the product, which can actually help with the performance of your panels and stop degradation. For all you O&M guys out there, for this particular product, you've got an AC power supply, so you can actually monitor the status of your system 24 hours a day, not just in daytime. It gives you a chance to go back and visit the system in the evening. You can change settings, change parameters, perform maintenance. It is quite a good feature that a lot of other brands will not offer. So you can monitor and change the status of your system during nighttime hours now. Right, I'm just going to go through our energy storage products. I mean, that was our residential string inverters and commercial products, but we also have a very large range to suit most needs in most markets for energy storage. Now, to the left here, you have the ES, EM, ESA, EH, and EHR, and also our three-phase ET series. Anything starting with an E in it means DC-based hybrid. Now, the ES, EM, ESA all work with low voltage smart batteries. They come from 3 kilowatts all the way up to 5 kilowatts. Now, for the ES, a single phase, this was the product that we actually launched in 2014, and I'm very glad to say it's still been sold successfully today. It's a tried, tested, and a proven product. The EM is a smaller version of the ES, which we sell in the UK. Again, single phase, comes in 3.6 to 5 kilowatt with a low voltage battery. The ESA is an all-in-one storage unit. Basically, you can put your batteries in a cabinet. Again, low voltage battery. It's a 5 kilowatt unit, and you can have up to 9.6 kilowatt hours worth of battery storage in the cabinet. Right, the EH and EHR work with high voltage batteries. They're available from 3 to 6 kilowatts. Basically, EHR means hybrid ready. So this particular product, you can either sell as a normal hybrid, DC hybrid, or you can sell it as hybrid ready, meaning you can use it as a regular inverter until it's time to add batteries afterwards. Again, with a high voltage battery. Right, the ET series, this has been a good success story for GoodWe, and we've launched it in the UK now. It's a three-phase DC hybrid, comes from 5, 8 and 10 kilowatt versions, works with the high voltage batteries. There's some very good key features about this unit that can handle multiple units in parallel. Right, SBP, BH and BT. Anything with a B in it is an AC coupled storage unit. The SBP and BH are single phase units for residential use. The SBP we sell in the UK works very well with a low voltage smart battery, and the BH and BT work with a high voltage battery. The BT again is a three-phase AC coupled storage unit, which is ideal for retrofitting to an existing PV system. Right, just want to focus on our ES. This was the product that we launched back in 2014 and is still being sold successfully today. Single phase, hybrid, DC hybrid, works with low voltage batteries. The key features of this product are you have a automatic switchover to backup within 10 milliseconds. So as soon as the grid fails, it switches to backup automatically. There's no manual operation where you switch to backup. With this version, you can actually charge your battery from the grid. For instance, in a market like South Africa, when you know the grid is going to fail the following day, and basically you've had a bad PV day, you can actually charge your battery from the grid and then use it the next day when the grid fails. All our products come with a smart meter. These enable our products to pick up the energy flow within the building. The first protocol goes to the load. Anything that's left over is directed to the battery, and the batteries will charge and discharge accordingly to the demands of the property. The main thing about energy storage, as everyone knows now, it's about self-consumption. Basically, you use everything that you generate from your PV system. Good thing about the ES, again, there's no fan, less risk of any problems. There's a big heat signature on the back of the product, which dissipates the heat evenly. Also, again, Wi-Fi, LAN and Bluetooth with 4G setup to connect to our SEMS monitoring platform. Right, this is the product that I wanted to focus on, which is the three-phase hybrid inverter, works with a high voltage battery. Again, switches to backup automatically within 10 milliseconds. You can charge and discharge. You can charge your battery from the grid if needed. Smart meters are included. You can actually limit your export power to 0, so you use everything within the property. There is 100% backup overloading within 60 seconds, and it helps with an unbalanced power supply, which is roughly 3.3 kilowatts per phase. Right. The key feature about this product, as I said earlier, was the parallel connection. For example, if you have 100 kilowatts on the roof, you can have 10 of these ET systems all linked in parallel, which are controlled by our product here called the SEC 1000 Hybrid. Now, each of these units has a bank of batteries attached to them. The SEC 1000 will control the rate at which these batteries charge and discharge all in unison. Another added benefit about this, depending on what battery manufacturer you use, you can have from 11 to 22 kilowatts worth of kilowatt hours worth of energy in your batteries, depending on what battery manufacturer you use. So I'm sure you'll all agree there that is a lot of energy storage you can collect, you can have ready to use when needed if you parallel these units. The key benefit to distributors and installers is you're not just selling these units in ones, you can actually sell them in multiples, and installers can install them in multiples. This screen basically shows our battery partners and the batteries that we're actually compatible with. In the UK, on the low voltage side, we mainly use BYD, LG Chem, and Pylon Tech. And on the high voltage side, it's BYD again, Pylon Tech, and LG Chem. If that wasn't enough, we've also got coming soon some larger commercial storage products. These are from 50 to 200 kilowatts. They'll be on the AC side and on the DC side. So you have an AC retrofit option and a DC hybrid option. They come from 50 to 100, 150 to 200 kilowatt for larger commercial energy storage options. You've got adjustable reactive power, a built-in remote shutdown. It's a modular design. These cabinets are around about 2 meters high, and you can stack your energies in the cabinet, your batteries in the cabinet neatly. Again, you've got a UPS switch, which is automatic, and they help with unbalanced power supplies. Right, just want to focus, I've mentioned SEMS a few times, but our monitoring portal is available globally and in 13 languages so far. There's servers in China, but we also now have servers in Australia, in Europe, and in North America. So our customers can monitor their products wherever they are in the world. If a server fails, we also have backup servers. Now, looking at one of the screens on our SEMS portal, you can actually get a lot of info and download a lot of info how your system or your plant is performing. To the left here, you can see system type, system capacity, the commissioning date, and where the system is. Down here, you can see a little graph with daily, monthly, and annual generation calculations. To the right at the top, you can see accumulated generation and operation statistics. The graph here is quite a good feature actually, because when you're actually doing this on your laptop screen, you can scroll using your mouse and you can see data at an individual time. So you can see historical data and present day data. Underneath, you can see inverter information, inverter status, power, voltage, current, etc. But there is another feature which is called the main dashboard. So the main dashboard, this will look really, really good in the reception area or a foyer of a commercial building. You can see from the information on these screens, you can actually tailor them to how you want them. This one here, you can see, you can monitor all of your plants. To the bottom here, you can see environmental statistics, how many trees you've saved. You can see normal maintenance operation statistics of your system, and there's a lot of key features that you can bring in and add, as well as weather information now also. Here's some case references that we have. There's an 11 megawatt ground mount in Holland using our MT series. 42 megawatt in China. 25 megawatt in China just below. 5 megawatt in Holland to the top right. 2 megawatt in Amsterdam. Some smaller rooftop installations. 21 megawatt in China. One down in Cape Town for 40 kilowatts. One in the UK, a 15 kilowatt system here for hybrids, and some more hybrids there. And thank you for your time. I'm just going to switch over to Colin. Colin, you're on.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Great, okay. Let me just share my screen here. Hopefully you can see. Hopefully you can see that screen. Can everyone see the screen, the presentation screen here?
Yes.
Right, thank you. Okay, so good morning, everybody. My name is Colin Poulter, and I'm responsible for the pre-sales and service activities for GoodWe in the UK. So I'm going to talk to you today about GoodWe's solutions for the commercial and industrial sectors. And then after that, I'd just like to briefly provide you with some information about the service and support activities. So let's move on to the CNI presentation. Okay, so we're going to look at why we can achieve more yield with our equipment. Then we're going to have a look at why perhaps there's less investment required by using our equipment at the start of a project. Then we're going to look at some of the operation and maintenance facilities that we provide and why we have reliable products. That's because of the quality aspects that we've included within our product. Okay, so I know that Raj has just introduced you to this screen. Now, what I would just like to say is we have a range of inverters here ranging from 25 kilowatts all the way through up to 250 kilowatts. These are focused on what we call our medium voltage or normal voltage and our high voltage solutions. So what I'd just like to introduce you to is our low voltage range of products that are available, which are the DT series, the SMT series and the MT series. Now the operational voltage of these pieces of equipment are between 150 and 300 volts on the AC side. Now this is usually to satisfy certain countries, but they're not as widely used perhaps. And that is the reason I'm going to really focus on our medium and high voltage equipment throughout the course of this presentation. Okay, so here is our MT series. You can see, well, what we do have here are 4 variants of this piece of equipment. At the top left here, you can see that we have our 50, 60 and 80 kilowatt solutions. And these are aimed specifically at rooftop commercial scenarios where you're going to supply power from the inverters to support the power required by the building. And these are usually connected at 380 volts AC. On the right-hand side here, we have our high voltage equipment in a 70 and 80 kilowatt version. These are targeting the ground mount and utility scale solutions. So they'll be directly connected to a transformer and they'll push power out onto the grid. So they're going to be used in a power station solution. And these connect to the grid at 500 volts and 540 volts. On the bottom left here, we have a variant which is compatible with bifacial modules, and these come in the 50, the 60 and the 80 kilowatt versions. So what this means is that the DC input current range from solar panels can accept those from the bifacial module. On the right hand side, bottom right hand side here, we have our 30, 35 and our 50 kilowatt low voltage solutions. Now, as I say, these are useful for countries such as Brazil, Norway, Spain. So you may have a region where you might need to use them at this particular voltage level. So you choose this particular product. Okay, this is our new product that's coming in. It's called the HD series. Now this comes in 3 different flavors. The first one here at the top left, this is a 100 kilowatt version and a 120 kilowatt version. Now these are useful for the rooftop commercial scenario again, because they connect to the grid at 380 volts. However, I'd just like to point out the DC input voltage range from the solar panels here is increased up to 1100 volts from our standard 1000 volts. Again, at the bottom here, we have the 1100 volt version, but this is specifically the ground mount utility solution that we provide, and this comes in 2 sizes, the 136 and the 150 kilowatt version. Now here's our large solution for ground mount solutions, and this has a DC operational voltage from the solar panels at 1500 volts, and we connect to a transformer at 800 volts. So this is our latest product. Okay, so the output power of an inverter is only as good as the weakest panel within the system, and also the number of trackers you have within the system. So you can imagine that if you have a fault that's developed on a solar panel, that's going to cause a power reduction on that particular string, and in turn reduced performance on that particular tracker. So with the high number of trackers now that we have, you can imagine that you can spread the risk across the trackers, if you like. So we have 11 trackers that are perhaps working at full tilt, and one tracker may not be producing just as well. Okay, so here we have an example. I think Raj already mentioned this, that our products are capable of being oversized on the DC side by 50%. So effectively what that means is that we can actually get more performance out of the inverter and gain more yield. So perhaps if you compare, now here's an example, you compare us to a competitor where they may only be able to produce between 10 and 30%. That means they've got some wasted roof space here. So as you can see now on the right hand side, because we've got this high oversizing capability, we can actually completely fill the roof with panels. Okay, so we've looked at the DC side oversizing. Well, we're also able to achieve up to 15% AC overloading on the output. So if you look at this example here, we have a 1.3 megawatt solar array connected to our inverter. In this example, it's a number of HT pieces of equipment. And you can see that we can produce a 1.15 megawatt output. Well, if you compare that to our competitor, you can see, and they don't have the AC overload capability, then they're only going to be able to produce 1 megawatt. So that's a great feature. So if we take the example of our 1100 volts inverter, what we're saying is now, because we've increased that DC input, we're effectively able to increase the number of panels on the string. So you can see here that we've increased, in this example, with these particular conditions, we're able to add 2 additional panels. So you're going to get more panels per string, and that also means there's going to be a cost saving in cabling, and also perhaps any of the mounting solutions that are required. Okay, so let's have a look at this example here. This is our 50 kilowatt MT inverter. It's got a low startup voltage of 200 volts. So what that means is, and as this example shows, it will start up very early in the morning, and the duration of generation will last until late into the evening. So effectively, you're getting a lot more generation out of this inverter. We believe it's between about 0.3 and 0.5% higher than some other brands. So you can imagine that across a year, and in a large system, that's many, many hundreds of kilowatt hours extra that's been produced. Okay, let's have a look at the temperature capability of our inverters. This example here shows our 50 kilowatt MT. Well, you can see at 50 kilowatt, at 50 degrees C, it's only at that point our inverter starts to derate. Whereas if you compare that against some of our competitors, they've already derated at that particular temperature. Well, also to overcome extreme temperature conditions, we do have inbuilt smart cooling fans, and these are from the quality product called NMB, which is a Japanese manufacturer. And these are rated at IP68. Okay, so if I move on to the next slide, we've spoken about bifacial modules, where here's just an example of the BF series, where we've got this high input current range of up to 15 amps. Whereas if you compare that to a standard inverter of 11 amps, if you were to connect bifacial modules to it that were outputting their maximum current, you get a power loss. Whereas here, with our bifacial compatible inverters, you're going to get all the power consumed and generated. Okay, so let's look at some of the aspects of the equipment. So let's see now why perhaps there's less investment or less capex costs associated with our products. Okay, the HT series, the GoodWe HT series here, you can see that on the bottom right here, we have integrated Type 2 surge protection devices on both the AC and the DC side. Not only that, we also have Type 3 surge protection on our communication boards. So if you compare that to our competitors that do not have that integrated, they're going to have to go to the extra expense of including surge protection and breakers. So that's not only an additional cost there, but also the additional cost of actually having to install this equipment as well. We've also got anti-PID integrated within our equipment as well. So at the end of the evening, if there's any PID problems that are developed and the panels will start to degrade, we apply the reverse voltage across the panels and we're able to repair that reduction in performance. Excuse me. So again, if you compare that to a competitor, they may have to go to the additional expense of adding in the anti-PID and of course the associated costs again of actually installing that. We can also reduce some costs on the AC cable saving. So with our HT series connecting direct to transformers, you may not necessarily need to connect the neutral. So whereas perhaps you would use a 5-core cable in a situation, you can actually now go down to a 4-core cable, and you could probably achieve saving up to about 25% on the cost of the AC cable. On another cost-saving side of the product, our inverters can accept the cross-sectional area of cable on the AC side at 240 mil square. So what that means is you can use aluminium conductors as opposed to copper. So aluminium being a lower cost item, you can achieve a cost saving. Okay, so our inverters also have the ability to compensate for any reactive power, and it will then compensate for any loads, reactive loads within the building. Now, this is only achieved with the application of our ancillary device called the SEC 1000. But you can see here we can dynamically change the range between -0.8 and +0.8 power factor. Again, if you compare us to a competitor, they may have to go to the additional cost of adding the reactive power cabinet. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the O&M features of our products and services. On the left here, we have the MT series, and also on the right is the same product, the MT series. But the one on the left here is a version with the screen. So all the configuration items are performed through the front screen of the inverter. Now, if you have a large plant, that means there are going to be many inverters within your system, and that means additional cost. You could reduce cost by going to the screenless version, which is a slightly cheaper model, and you're still able to configure it, but you use our app called SolarGo to configure it. So there's another little cost saving. Okay, from an O&M perspective again, you want to be able to repair these efficiently if there's any situation that may arise. So here you can see the exploded view, and it'd be quite easy if there's a problem that develops on a power board and you needed to change it. You can see that it's quite easy to take that board out and exchange it. Okay, an important part of O&M is obviously monitoring. You need to monitor what the system is actually doing. So at the top of the screen here, we have an example of a system where the inverters are connected by communication method RS485. In turn, the last inverter in the connection to what we call our Easy Logger Pro, which is a data logger. This is the method by which we can then connect to a local router to transport all the information about the data and performance of a system up onto the GoodWe portal. So that is purely aimed at monitoring. So if we look at number 2 here, this takes it a step further. We're just not only are we able to monitor what the system's doing, with the addition of this device called the SEC1000, we were able to perform export limitation, and that's because within this box we have smart metering capability as well as the Easy Logger Pro. So effectively they are contained and comprised within this box. Looking at the last scenario here, where we're using our high voltage transformers, high voltage inverters connected to a transformer directly, we would take advantage of using the box called the SCB2000. Now what this means is that it's going to collect data, and it's collected via the power cables. We don't need the RS485 communication because it works on power line communication methods. So again, we can get this information up onto our portal and display that. At the bottom of the screen here, we have some solutions, just perhaps if there were 1 or 2 inverters in the system, and you don't want to go to the extra cost of buying this equipment. So we've provided a Wi-Fi capability to display what's going on, as well as a LAN connection to a local router. And then finally, we'll be offering the 4G communication as well, so you can get the data up onto our portal. Okay, with very large plants where you may have a number of transformers which inverters are connected to, you probably want to take advantage of the SCB2000 to collect data from each of the systems to a particular transformer. Now, the reason we use this is because obviously with a large system, there may be great distances between each of the transformers. So because the SCB2000 communicates over optical fiber, we can achieve distances of communication up to 20 kilometers. Now, if you compare that to with RS485, you're only limited to 1 kilometer. And of course, fiber optics being very less susceptible to any communication problems, that's another great aspect of it. Okay, so again, on the monitoring side, now I know Raj introduced you to what we call our main dashboard, a main SEMS dashboard. Well, here is the interface that you can use to actually configure what you actually want to display. So in the top left of the screen here, item number 1, we currently are displaying the default data, construction plan items, and then number 2, the capacity proportion, number 3, etc. So you can opt via these drop-down boxes what you actually want to display in those particular areas of the screen. We also have a carousel function at the bottom here, which enables you to scroll through all the inverters within the system, and then you can also link to creating reports and look at the alarms that may be happening. You're also able to configure what the display is here at the top. So if you move on then to this page, what we're saying here is if you don't want to actually use our SEMS portal, you want to supply or provide your own monitoring platform, we do offer our application programming interface, our API. So you can make calls into our cloud server and then extract the data of a system and present that data to your own third-party platform. So while we're talking about third-party platforms, we do have compatibility Meteosun and also SolarLog. So we have that compatibility, and means we can fit them within the systems, also compatible with these types of equipment in order to present the data up on whatever third-party platform you want. Okay, SCADA compatibility. Well, because of our EasyLogger having the IEC 104 protocol, this actually means that we can take advantage of this within a SCADA system, which means that an external influence can actually make changes to the operation and performance of the inverter. So perhaps you want a grid company wants to take over control of it, they can connect into this system and adjust the power output of the system. Also, a big part of O&M is you need to monitor the weather conditions to make sure your inverters are performing in the right circumstances with the environment conditions. So providing the environment equipment that you purchase has Modbus RTU capability, you can transmit that data via our EasyLogger Pro and send all the data about the monitoring up onto our portal. So you can see here an example of the information that is sent to that portal. Okay, so we also have remote diagnosis and shutdown capability. So as you're an O&M operator, you'll get notifications sent to you that perhaps there's a fault that's developed on an inverter. Hopefully not, but if it does, then you get that notification and you may need to send out an engineer to site to rectify any problem, and you get a comprehensive report as to what's happening. If it's what could potentially be a catastrophic situation and you need to shut down the power plant, then at the push of a button you can actually do that. Okay, so let's just have a look at some of the mounting scenario solutions that we offer. The regular solution would be to wall mount our equipment on the bracket that we provide. You could also mount it on a framework, but we do have this ability to be able to mount the system laying on its back. So you can see here up on the roof here, you can lay it on its back. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, perhaps now this is perhaps not a good example of where or how you would install an inverter, but it's showing an inverter that may be casting a shadow across the solar panels. So to prevent that, you could actually install it in this scenario where you're less likely to cast a large shadow across the array. So that's just some examples there. We do have inbuilt AC temperature sensors on our AC side. So if a fault is developing on the connector, you can automatically shut down the inverter. So whilst we're talking about faults that develop, we do have arc fault protection on our inverters. Excuse me. Arc fault protection on our inverter. Excuse me, just one moment. So if there was a problem with the connection of an MC4 connector, maybe it's degraded over time on the roof, our inverters are capable of detecting this fault and shutting down the inverter. Okay, so that's just some of the features and useful aspects of O&M that we can offer. So why are our products reliable? Well, we not only have quality products, but we have quality processes as well. And some of the features of our equipment are the fact that we incorporate thin film capacitors in our design. Now, they do have a higher operating temperature range than the electrolytic capacitor, and that does mean that we can achieve up to 4 times as long, 4 times operational length. Another feature is the fact that we do have multiple redundant protection mechanisms in there, one of these being the main DSP of our equipment. If the master should happen to fail, it will switch over to the slave and the inverter will continue to generate. Another feature is the fact that on our AC side, if the relays happen to fail, well, we've got a backup set of relays that are going to switch over automatically. So we've got some redundancy protection there. Now, I know Raj has already introduced you to this certificate, but I think it's worth mentioning again. And this is a reflection upon our quality design and processes. And the stages of development and laboratory tests that we go through are or some of them are shown here. So we look at IP65 testing, temperature testing, noise and vibration testing. We look at the highly accelerated life testing to expose any weaknesses, any weak links within the product. And we also look at environment factors as well by testing the anti-corrosion capability of our equipment. So you can imagine that in harsh environments, we need to test for all those scenarios. Okay, so what you'll see here is, or what we do have here is our automatic test suite testing inverters. Now we put every single inverter through this automatic test suite, and that means 100% of the inverters before they go out for delivery are tested. We also like to put our equipment in an aging room so we can monitor the performance of them over a wide range of temperatures. And they're usually sat and operating at full operation, and they'll be in there for at least 8 hours. So our production line is ISO 9001 certified, and we also have high control over anti-static problems. So anyone entering the assembly room, they have to go through this anti-static testing to make sure that they prevent any damage to any of the equipment whilst it's being manufactured. Okay, so that was some of the quality aspects. I'm just going to jump back to a couple of features concerning the HT series. Now, Raj has already introduced you to this slide, so I'll just skip over this one, but I would just like to remind you of the fact that if you do need to incorporate type 1 surge protection devices, you can actually install those as well. Another great feature of the HT here is the fact that it's compatible with tracking systems. So if you want to maximize and get the right angle of incidence onto your solar panels to get the maximum amount of power, we do have this compatibility. Now, this concerns the 250 kilowatt HT inverter. Normally, our inverters require the DC side to be operational. So during the daytime, when you've got DC available and AC, the inverters will be generating power. But with the 250 kilowatt, they can just be powered up from the AC side. So this is a benefit to any operation and maintenance that you may need to achieve during an evening when you're not going to interrupt any of the generation. So you can do things such as changing parameters and perhaps even firmware upgrades. Talking of firmware upgrades, you're able to upgrade each individual inverter just by inserting a USB stick and downloading that inverter with the new software There's no interaction. All you need to do is plug it in and the software will update. Also, perhaps if there's been a monitoring problem, there's been an outage, but you still want to have access to the data performance of the inverter, because there's some memory within this inverter, you can download it onto a memory stick. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this again because I've already covered this, but what I would just like to say is that for the 250 kilowatt inverter, we don't support Wi-Fi. Oops, I just jumped over there. So I'm finally in this section, I'm just going to cover a couple of case references. So here we have some solar plants in Korea and China. We have some commercial rooftop solutions here at the Bosch factory in India, the Siemens factory in India. We have some ground mount solutions here in Holland. Some more ground mount solutions in Turkey. And here in the UK, I'd just like to show you an example of a 2.3 megawatt rooftop system. And then here we have our rooftop 200 kilowatts and an example of a 350 kilowatt example. So that brings me to the end of this part of the presentation. And I would now like to change screen to show you some of the service activities. So just bear with me a moment. Now I'm hoping that you're all able to see that. Oh, excuse me, where did that disappear to? Right, I was at the end of the presentation. So GoodWe service. So not only do we have our great products, we also have a great service and support capability, and we can provide you design advice, warranty advice, things of that nature. But what I'd like to draw your attention to is our website, because this is a great resource of information. Now, across the top here, you can see that we have a number of sections. I'm going to take you to the first section, which is the product section. I'm afraid this isn't a very good slide. However, on here you can see that we have all the information concerning our residential inverters. We have information to do with our commercial rooftop, our ground utility inverters, energy storage, and monitoring. So in there you're going to find a great resource of information. Now, I'm going to go to the support section here. Now at the top you have anything to do with warranties, so you can apply for warranties there or look up the status of a particular piece of equipment to check its warranty status. You can direct or use yourself to record any issues. We have an online tracking system, so I recommend you take advantage of using this so that problems or issues are dealt with in an effective manner. We also have a frequently asked questions section, which is a useful resource of information, as well as a part of the website which has quite a lot of videos which are very useful to watch and introduces you to various pieces of equipment and scenarios and designs. The download section I will come to in a minute, but also here where it says monitoring, this is our SEMS portal. So this is where you go in and access the SEMS portal. And just beneath system design, now we do have an online designer which you can just sign up for free, and this provides you with the ability to make designs with various different panel manufacturers, etc. It may not be quite as comprehensive as something like PVSolve, but it's a great point to start with. Okay, so if we go to the download section, this is just an example of what you'd see on that page, where you can download information about the different products. You can download certificates, the user manual, and software as well, and you choose the relevant product and the particular language you want to look at this documentation in. So here's an example. I've downloaded the certificate for the EM product, and I wanted it in English. So here you can see that there are 3 certificates available, and they're all downloadable, or you can view them online. Just while I'm here, I'd just like to draw your attention to the Solar Academy. They are great hosts for lots of seminars around the world, and as you can see here, the statistics of how many countries they've covered, the number of training sessions they've provided. So again, any information you want to know about them, you can go to this part of the website. Okay, so this just gives you a bit of a clue as to our service presence throughout the world. And if you go onto that same page, you'll find all the contact details for the service centres around the world. So this actually brings me to the conclusion of my part of the presentation now. So I hope it's been of benefit to you. All I'd like to say is now stay safe, and I'm going to hand you back over to Raj.
Thank you everyone for attending our webinar. We hope that you've gained a bit of extra knowledge about our company and our products. If you have any other questions, please email either me or Colin, and we'll answer them as soon as possible. The next webinar we wish to host for Voltalia will be for your customers, and we can do a tailored webinar for C&I solutions, or just specifically for energy storage or large utility inverters. So whatever topics you guys want to present to your customers, we can help you with that. Once again, thank you from myself and Colin, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.